My brother moved into my house without asking, then tried to kick me out. He said it would be temporary. Just a few days until he figured things out. But weeks later, he had taken over my home, trashed my routine, and turned my own family against me. Then came the letter with my name crossed out, and his written in its place. It started with one phone call. My brother Ryan said he just needed a place to crash. A few days, he promised. His landlord kicked him out, and he had nowhere else to go. I hesitated, but he was my brother. So I said yes. At first, it was fine. He stayed in the guest room, cleaned up after himself, and even offered to pay for groceries. But by the end of the first week, things changed. He began leaving dirty dishes everywhere, blasting music at odd hours, and inviting people over without telling me. Still, I kept quiet. Because that's what I'd always done. Tolerated Ryan. But then he started using my things. My clothes. My laptop. My cologne. And the worst part? He never asked. When I confronted him, he laughed and said, "Relax, it's just stuff." Then I noticed my mail disappearing. Letters opened. Some never delivered to me at all. One afternoon, I found him in the garage on the phone, giving my address for a new credit application. I demanded answers, and he blew up at me, shouting, "You think you're better than me just because you bought a house? You only have this because Dad helped you." That was a lie. I built this place from nothing. Worked 3 jobs. Ate cheap noodles for months just to pay my mortgage. But to Ryan, I owed him comfort just for existing. Things got worse when he started telling relatives that I'd invited him to move in permanently, that we were going to live like old times. That this was his home now too. Then one morning, I found a letter from the HOA. It was a petition, signed by Ryan and 2 of his friends. The letter claimed the house should be under his name, since I was no longer mentally stable to manage the property. He was trying to take my house from me. That night, I changed the locks. But what came next made it clear, Ryan wasn't done. He wanted everything I had. The next morning, I stepped outside to find my car vandalized. Spray paint. Slashed tires. A shattered windshield. At first, I thought it was random, until I saw it. For letters scratched into the hood. Mine. I knew it was Ryan. But I couldn't prove it. When I tried to report it, he played the victim. Told our relatives I'd kicked him out over a small argument, and was now trying to ruin his life. The lies spread fast. My aunt called, furious. "Why would you throw your brother into the streets?" she demanded. "He said you begged him to come." I told her the truth, but it didn't matter. Ryan was charming, pitiful, believable. I was the cold-hearted one. That weekend, he came back. Not alone. He brought our cousin Leo, the one who used to bully me as a kid, and 2 other guys I didn't recognize. They stood at the edge of my lawn, shouting that I owed Ryan a roof. That family doesn't throw blood into the gutter. I called the cops. They were gone by the time they arrived. But Ryan had already won that round. My neighbors were watching now. Whispering. Judging. Then, the twist that broke me. I got an email from the bank. A flagged login attempt on my mortgage account. I logged in, and saw a recent password change request. Ryan had my documents. Somehow, he had my social security number. My ID. Even copies of my property papers. Probably stolen while I was at work. He was trying to legally claim the house. I spent the next week filing fraud reports, locking down my accounts, changing passwords, talking to lawyers. But the damage was done. My name was mud in the family. My privacy violated. My peace shattered. And through it all, not one person asked me what happened. They all believed the same old story, that I was the responsible one, and Ryan just needed a little help. They didn't know he was trying to bury me with kindness and take everything while I stayed quiet. But I wasn't staying quiet anymore. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the floorboards felt like a warning. Every sound outside made me check the locks again. Then, 2 nights later, it happened. I came home from work and found the front door wide open. At first, I thought I'd been robbed. But no, nothing was missing. Not money. Not electronics. Just a photo. One photo. From the hallway wall. It was the only one I had with Mom before she passed. Back when Ryan and I were still kids. That was the moment I knew this wasn't about need. It wasn't about desperation. It was about control. He wanted to erase me from everything. So I stopped playing fair. I went through the trash bags Ryan had left behind. In one of the boxes, tucked under some old jackets, I found a burner phone. Still charged. And the messages inside. They were the key. He'd been messaging someone, our cousin Leo, and someone else saved as V, and bragging. Bragging about how he'd guilt me into housing him. About how idiot boy still trusts me. About how he'd find a way to flip the deed and get what should have been mine since Mom died. Screenshots. Dates. Voice notes. Even photos of me, taken secretly inside my own home. It was all there. That night, I sent it all, to every single family member who had called me selfish. Who had said I turned my back on blood. I didn't explain. I didn't argue. I just wrote. This is what I've been protecting you from. You chose him. Now read who he really is. The silence that followed was loud. One by one, the messages started pouring in. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I should have listened. But it was too late. Because Ryan wasn't done. The next morning, he filed a restraining order against me. Claimed I was harassing him. Threatening him. That he feared for his safety. It was laughable, except the court took it seriously. I had to show up, sit across from him, and defend myself just to keep living in my own home. But this time I had evidence. Proof. And when the judge saw the messages, the photos, the timeline, he dismissed Ryan's claim immediately. Still, the damage was done. My name was no longer in the mud. It had been dragged through hell and left in pieces. And Ryan, he disappeared again. Until 3 months later, when a letter showed up in my mailbox. No name. No return address. Just 4 words, scribbled in messy handwriting. You haven't won yet. 3 days after the letter arrived, my dog wouldn't stop barking at the back fence. I went out with a flashlight. Nothing. No footprints. No signs of anyone. But I knew Ryan was back. The next morning, I installed motion sensors, new locks, and cameras. I wasn't taking chances. I wasn't going to let him slip through the cracks again. Then came the knock at my door. 2 people, a man and woman in suits, stood on my porch, flashing badges. They were from Child Protective Services. Confused, I let them speak. Someone had filed a report. About me. Claims of erratic behavior. Violence. Mentions of emotional instability and past aggression. Everything phrased carefully enough to cast doubt, and clearly orchestrated to ruin me. It was Ryan. He couldn't get what he wanted through threats or force, so he tried the one thing he knew could break me. My reputation. But what he didn't know was, I had receipts. Videos. Screenshots. Voice messages. The fake number he texted from. The letter he thought I'd burn. I showed the agents everything. No anger. Just facts. They listened. Took notes. But their tone shifted. I saw it in their expressions. They had walked in thinking they'd find a problem. Instead, they found the truth. Still, after they left, I sat down, my hands trembling. Because even with the lies exposed, something inside me felt fractured. Like no matter how much I defended myself, Ryan would always find another way to crawl back in and set fire to whatever peace I built. That night, I didn't sleep. Not out of fear, but because I realized something deeper. He wasn't just trying to hurt me. He was trying to erase me. But I was still here. Still standing. And this time, I wasn't leaving the door unlocked. I spent the next few days quietly preparing. No more reacting. No more waiting for the next hit. I tracked down the old friend Ryan used to brag about. The one who owed him favors and helped him fake documents once. Turns out, he was tired of Ryan too. One coffee and a few pointed questions later, I had exactly what I needed. Proof Ryan had been impersonating me online for months. Setting up accounts, sending messages, planting fake narratives. It was digital slander, and I had timestamps, IP logs, and voice recordings. I packaged it all neatly. Then I paid a visit to the same agency that had come to investigate me. I didn't show up angry. I showed up ready. Composed. I handed them everything. The forged emails, the false report, the online harassment. Their expression changed halfway through the files. This wasn't just self-defense anymore. It was a criminal case. The next part moved quickly. Restraining order. Filed. Police report. Filed. Legal action. In motion. But I didn't stop there. I reached out to the local community groups where Ryan had spread rumors about me. Told them the truth. Shared the evidence. Some apologized. Some didn't know what to say. But the silence around his lies started to break. And then, one night, Ryan showed up at my door. Not loud. Not violent. Just standing there, with that smirk that used to make my stomach twist. But this time, I didn't flinch. I stepped outside. Told him his game was over. That I wasn't afraid anymore. And just behind me, 2 officers stepped forward from the driveway. I'd called them before I opened the door. Ryan was arrested on the spot for harassment, identity fraud, and violating the restraining order. As they cuffed him, he looked at me with something I hadn't seen in his eyes before. Fear. Not because of the law, but because I had done what he never thought I could. I outsmarted him, outlasted him, and stood up not just for my name, but for myself. That night, I sat on my porch alone, watching the sun rise. For the first time in years, it felt like mine. Like I could finally exhale. Because, in the end, he tried to erase me, but all he did was remind me how strong I really was. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories.